Hello and welcome back to episode 6 of the Combat Club. My name is Mike Owens and today I have the pleasure of being joined by Pat Sabatini, fresh off his winner at the UFC last Saturday. Pat, always a pleasure, my man. How are things at you today?
Dude, glad to be back on the show, man. Feeling good. Really happy about last week's performance and, ready to keep the ball rolling.
I imagine after close to a year out the cage and after how the last fight went, that was exactly what you needed on Saturday night.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I've been putting a lot of hard work in over the last 11 months, since my last loss. And, I'm just getting started, man.
So I caught up with Mario Batista yesterday and I asked him to walk me through his fight with Jose Aldo and he said he hadn't had a chance to watch it. Your fight is a lot shorter and is also on UFC Fight Pass, so I'm hoping you've had a chance to watch it. Give us a little bit of a walkthrough of the fight and the finish.
So, I kind of felt in the beginning of the fight that he was going to come in very aggressive. He stared me down pretty good. I'm like, this guy's coming in hot.
Mm.
So I think we both threw a kick around the same
Mm.
time. I was in a southpaw stance. He was in an orthodox stance, and he kind of deflected my kick, forcing me to turn. I just threw like a little spinning back fist out
Mm.
there, and bam, he came in for an uppercut, and I just cut the corner on that head outside single, got to his back, and just tried to work him down from there before I can get the choke.
I think there's a moment about 2.5 minutes in where where you get off the back and he ends up in almost like you end up on like a standing guard position, but then you eventually get the back again. It felt like once you got the back so early on, it was almost the beginning of the end, like 30 seconds into the fight. Where do you feel like your backpacking skills rank with the rest of the UFC featherweight division?
I think I'm at the top of the heap for that. It's something I've been doing for years. I have like a little bit of a hybrid style with the grappling, a little mix of jujitsu, which
Mm.
is what my first grappling discipline was, wrestling, and the sambo. So I feel like I blend them all together very well, and I feel like that's why I'm able to get to these positions and have success in these positions.
Every grappler has both of these skills, but I often say that every grappler has an advantage in either the strength or the skill. You're either super strong or you've just got super good technique. Which one of those, if you had to characterize yourself, would you say you would land in?
I think I kind of have both of those, but I definitely favor more the technique.
Mm.
I feel like I learned that at a young age. Like, strength will only get you so far, but being
Mm.
efficient and being technical could take you all the way to the top.
You may have heard on the commentary, Michael Bisping tells a story about Alan Jouban saying he saw you in the UFC PI the morning of your fight. Dude, I think it was 45 minutes of rounds. Is that true? 45 minute shakeout?
So we were there for about 45 minutes, but
Mm.
I only did a couple rounds, did a lot of jump rope, especially after rehydrating. I want to get the machine working, you
Mm.
know what I mean? I don't want to go out there and feel stiff.
Mm.
But I really like to get a good shakeout and really push it in the shakeout. And this way, my body's ready, we're activated, and we just go and we take care of business.
And you said something in your post-fight interview. I can't remember what it exactly was, but almost words to the effect of you've been a fan of Jonathan Pearce. You can re-quote me if that's not correct, but something along those lines. How did it feel to get the victory over a guy that you've revered and followed to an extent?
It definitely feels great to get the victory over him. I feel like he's one of the most well-rounded people in the
Mm.
division. It's very rare that you find somebody with his physical attributes, super tall. He can wrestle very well. He can strike very well. And, he's definitely put that on display in the UFC. I think he has 5 wins in the UFC.
Mm.
And yeah, man, I'm just blessed to get a win over such a, highly touted opponent like that.
We'll be back to the video in just a second, but first, I got to remind you the NFL season is in full swing, and Inside Fighting has partnered up with DraftKings, an official partner of the NFL, to bring you an amazing offer. And right now, if you go download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, new customers who bet $5 will receive $200 in bonus bets just by using promo code Inside Fighting.
Because when you separate after the ref steps in, there's a moment where you walk to the center of the cage and then you walk back to the side of the cage, and your face is showing 4 or 5 different emotions at the same time. And I don't think we could really tell what it was. So, talk to us in that moment. Obviously, there's a lot going on, there's a lot of emotion. What's the key emotion after that victory?
So at first, I definitely I know the exact moment you're talking
Mm.
about because I definitely went through a couple different emotions right there. But I wanted to scream, I wanted to cry, and then all of a sudden I pulled myself back and I said, just be present and feel this moment. And that's what I did. That's the moment I worked for.
Surprised you never got the bonus. I mean, Clayton Carpenter gets the second round submission and gets the 50 Gs. I don't know. Great performance by Clayton. I'll give him that. But if you're finishing someone around there, you should probably have got the 50 Gs. So surprised at that decision.
Yeah, I'm just like I said, I'm grateful to have the opportunity to even step in there and
Mm.
let alone get the win. But man, I got a little excited. I'm like, man, we might get it, but it wasn't my time for that.
100%. I think I mentioned it a little bit earlier as well, but obviously you came off the Diego Lopes fight last November, memory serves. That was obviously a a devastating loss in many ways, but Diego's obviously gone on to do great things. How important for you personally was it to move back, for you to move past that Diego Lopes fight with this win over Jonathan
so
Pearce?
so I've felt like, and I've said this to multiple people, and I'm going to say it again. I felt like the last four fights, Damon Jackson, Diego Lopes, Lucas Almeida,
Mm.
and Jonathan Pearce, I feel like I've walked into that cage as two different people. Uh, Depending, and a lot of it depended on like kind of how my camp went and where this was, mainly
Mm.
where this was. You know how it is, man. This
Mm.
sport is so much more mental than it is physical.
Yeah.
And, you know, I needed to get this under control. And that's why I started working with a sports psychologist back in March. And I immediately felt a difference. And, I just feel like having that skill set moving forward, I feel like I could really do great things. I feel like I honestly feel like the world hasn't seen the best version of me yet,
Mm.
but it's starting right now. But I needed to go to that dark place, after those
Mm.
losses in order to, you know, be where I am right now and where I'm going.
Mm. I don't want you I don't want you to get too personal if you don't want to in this next question, but what does
Yeah.
having a sports psychologist as one of the best fighters in the world entail? Like what does that talk to me a little bit about the benefits of that?
Sure, sure. No, it's definitely something I'm very open about now just
Mm.
because I am thankful and just see, you know, how much of a help it is. Like we go over a lot of techniques to, stay present, stay mindful,
Mm.
and not let the moment, get the best of you. Because I feel like at this level in the UFC, especially at the top of the heap, I feel like anybody can win on any given day, but who can show up in that moment and on that day? You know what I'm saying?
Mm. How do you reflect on the fight against Diego Lopes? Was it when you look at the finish, was it a mistake that you made? Was it something that he did brilliantly that you didn't see? Like, how do you actually reflect on how that fight went?
Oh, absolutely, man. I could tell you right now that I went in there way too tense.
Mm.
I did not have the best of camps. And I let that kind of get in my head as well. Uh, I never told anybody this, but I actually suffered a concussion a couple weeks leading up to that fight from a headbutt in
Wow.
camp.
Mm.
And dude, I kind of let that get in my head. And listen, I don't do excuses.
Of
I
course.
stepped in there. He is a beast of an opponent. He's having such a great run, and I wish nothing but the best for him. But it definitely wasn't the best version of me out there that
Mm.
night. But I'm blessed for the experience.
It's one of those things sometimes, isn't it? I have the pleasure of speaking with you guys, and a lot of the casual fans see you perform on Saturday night and almost don't appreciate that you guys are human and that there could be a multitude of things, good or bad, going on in your lives. It's one of those things that sometimes you set a date 3 months in advance. You don't know what could go on personally, professionally in those 3 months, but you still got to hit that date.
Absolutely, man. You never know what life's going to throw at you. You don't know what's going to happen. Like even this past camp, 2 weeks out, man, I had a really nasty staph infection and I was sick on top of it. And I'm
Mm.
like, oh man. But those little things, dude, I feel like in the past would kind of wear on me a
Mm.
certain amount. But I feel like now, where this is, it's almost like whatever gets thrown my way, whatever hand I'm dealt, I'm gonna play it to the best of my ability.
Mm. Well, that's great to hear. And talking about what's next comes your way next. Do you have a timeline for a return, or in an ideal world, a specific card that you'd be looking to get on next?
Honestly, I'm already back to the gym. I sparred yesterday. So I'm just gonna stay ready, man. I'm always open for short notice. Like I said, I'm gonna stay ready and I'm gonna jump on whatever opportunity presents itself.
Tampa, December 14th sounds nice, and that's on the East Coast. That's the relatively short flight from Philly. That would make a lot of sense.
Yeah, where's that fight at?
Tampa, Florida, 14th of December.
Oh, I love Florida, man. Hey, I'm down, dude. I'm down. That's plenty of time.
Is there a place or a state that you haven't fought in yet that you would like to?
Honestly, you know, there's a couple places I'd like to see. Australia, Japan. I'd like to I love traveling. I want to
Mm,
see the world. So if I could go see some of these places and fight on those cards, that would be cool. But I'm totally fine with fighting in Vegas again at
mm.
the Apex, anywhere.
And I know that you're not the type to kind of call somebody out, so I'm not going to waste any time asking you that because I know that you're a fighter who comes with a lot of respect. I guess the question I want to ask is, as someone who's predominantly a grappler, do you like to fight other grapplers and test your grappling skills against those, or do you prefer to fight predominantly strikers where it's that to and fro of where's the fight going to take place and can I get them down and get them into my world?
That's a great question right there. Honestly, I look at both of them in a certain way where I kind of like both of them
Yeah.
because I feel like no matter who I'm going to fight, I'm going to just try to get them to play to my game, if that makes sense. And there's advantages and disadvantages going against grapplers versus strikers.
Mm.
But yeah, either way, I like it. You know what I mean?
Is there one thing you feel like you do better than everybody else in the 145-pound division?
Yeah, I think that I can blend the grappling better than anybody else in the 145-pound division for sure.
What makes you so confident in that area?
I just think I have a lot of time built into developing that skill set.
Mm.
And I just think that I'm a little bit different in that realm than the
Mm.
rest of the division.
Talking about the rest of the division, I have to ask you about the title fight next Saturday because me personally, I think it's my most anticipated fight of the year. I was actually at UFC 300 where Max knocked out Gaethje in the kind of start of this fight. What a moment to see. And from a personal standpoint, it will be on around about 9:30 p.m. our time. So really lucky for the UK fans. But Ilia Topuria versus Max Holloway, how do you see the featherweight title fight playing out?
Man, that is it's a very anticipated fight for me as well.
Mm.
I just think it's going to be an awesome fight. I think that I would probably give the edge to Topuria.
Mm.
Just my personal opinion. But dude, I would not be surprised if Max goes in there and just makes a statement. It's one of those fights that let's get the popcorn out and sit back and check this one out. Dude, it's going to be very entertaining.
Have you followed any of the build-up for this fight? I mean, I know they did a face-to-face last week. I know that Topuria's done a couple of interviews in his usual outlandish self, saying something about he's going to knock Max out in the first 10 seconds. Have you followed the build-up, and do you think either Max or Ilya are in the other's head?
I haven't really followed the build up. The only thing I did hear though was I think Topuria said something along the lines like if you point to the ground, it's going to be like a crazy 10 seconds or something
Mm.
like that, and it's going to be the end of the fight. But dude, that would be pretty funny if they came out and just went like this from the rip. I wouldn't be surprised.
That's what Topuria said, that he's going to walk to the center at the start of the fight and point to the ground. And rather than the last 10 seconds, he wants to do it at the first 10 seconds and see if Max will meet him there.
I think that's going to happen. Be honest with you, dude. That's why I think this is going to be such a crazy fight.
Who do you think's next for the title fight after the winner?
Probably Diego Lopes, man. If I'm
Mm.
being honest with you, because I think what is he ranked number 3 right now?
I
I
think
think.
number three, correct, yeah.
Yeah, I would say him. Be honest with you,
Yeah.
for sure.
I have to ask you very quickly before we wrap up. I want to ask you
Sure.
about a teammate of yours, Sean Brady, because talking about Tampa, you will have heard the rumors he's potentially being matched up against Ian Gary for December 14th. I'm not sure if you've heard that or if you have any inside information, which I know that you can't give. But if that fight does happen, what do you make of it for Sean?
Well, that's the first I'm hearing about that, and trying to think of how to word this properly, but I think Sean Brady is going to annihilate the rest of the division. He is on another level here. He's another one too of an example of somebody that has such a crazy high skill set everywhere.
Hmm.
And I think this just started clicking for him. And now I think he is just on another level, man. I think he's going to just take that title by storm, and it's going to start with Gary. I think Gary's going to be a way easier fight for him than the one he just had, which was an amazing performance against Gilbert Burns.
Back to what I was saying earlier, based upon what you've seen in the training room, is Sean a strength grappler or a skill grappler?
He's both. He's honestly
Thought
both.
you might say that.
But dude, his level of strength though is just crazy. Like
Mm.
the last time I've rolled with him, dude, I I couldn't do a thing, man. I couldn't do a thing. I wanted to call somebody to come and help me when I was mid roll. You know what I mean? I was
Mm.
looking for someone to tag in, but dude, he's just a beast, man, and such a great guy too. We
Mm.
really look up to him.
Is do you have a team captain in the gym,
I would say it's him. To be
Sean?
honest with you, for sure.
Because
You
what's
know,
also
he's
sorry, go on.
oh no, he's yeah, he's definitely who I would consider the team captain for sure.
Because what's interesting when I look at your gym, and obviously when I say this, a lot of the guys in the UFC, I know that there'll be guys in your gym in other organizations who are making their way up who we don't quite know yet. But when I think about Sean, I think about Joey, Jeremiah, Andre, and Nursultan. They're all 170 or 185ers. Do you train with those guys, or do you have a separate group of guys that are more featherweight, lightweight, or bantamweight that you specialize in? Because as you say, even from a skill thing is one thing, but obviously from a natural size advantage, you're obviously going to be at a disadvantage there.
For sure, man. I have a couple 135ers, 145ers, and 155ers that are amazing training partners. One of them, uh, actually two of them, they're out with me in Vegas. Eddie Torres, he's one of my coaches as well. He's 45 or 55er, and my other training partner, he's actually an amateur. He's about to make his pro debut in December. His name's Christian Bobby. You're going to be seeing him in the UFC one day, man. He can wrestle, he can strike, he can jujitsu. He's just such a cool dude, man. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing the rise of him for sure.
Well, turning the conversation back to yourself, you obviously come off this fantastic win on last Saturday night. What are your goals for the next 12-month period? Where would you like to be, let's say, the end of October 2025?
I'd like to have a number next to my name. I'd like to be ranked for
Mm.
sure. And yeah, that's pretty much the goal right there for the next year.
Mm.
I think that's a very attainable goal, that I'll work very hard towards.
What does that entail in terms of how many fights you think you'd need to get to the top 15?
I think it would take a couple more fights, maybe like I don't know, it also depends who I fight too.
Mm.
But if I get the right fights, I think a couple fights would put me there for sure.
Pierce was just ranked in the top five to top 15 if memory serves. I know after he beat the fifth guy on his 5-fight win streak, he got a number 15 right next to his name.
He did?
I'm pretty
Wow.
sure he did. I think I
Well,
think I'm trying to think who his first loss on this 3-fight losing streak was, but it was before that. He
I
definitely
think it
had a
was
number before that.
Brito. I
I
think
thought it was
Brito beat
Brito.
him.
Yeah, but Brito that was it because Brito never got the top 15 after beating him, which was kind of bizarre. But anyway, Pat, thank you so much for your time. Great to see you back in action as always and get this fantastic victory. And I look forward to seeing the next one, my friend.
Look forward to talking to you more in the future, brother. Thank you for having me on.